Let me turn this down a little bit. Happy Monday, everybody. This is September 26th, a nice, beautiful, sunny, somewhat warm Monday morning. I am Kadeen Shaw, your host. I am here to give you guys some market analysis for this week, the week of September 26th. This is actually the last week of the monthly candle. So before I get into some market analysis, let me go ahead and go through Forex Factor real quick. I'm going to look at momentum, and then I'm going to show you guys some important key levels I'm looking at for this week for the market, because we've reached an interesting level. So let's go ahead and look at it. So far for Forex Factory, I have folders, I believe, only on, there's nothing on Monday. Tuesday, we have Powell speaking on Tuesdays. That's 7:30 in the morning. So before the market opens, you'll be able to identify the effect of this his speech on Tuesday. That's tomorrow. Also, there's another one at 10 a.m. So 7:30 and 10 a.m. tomorrow. So Tuesday is going to be two red folders. Wednesday, I don't see any red folders. Wednesday, Thursday, I don't have any red folders. We do have some orange folders on Thursday, so kind of be mindful of that. It may not have as big of an impact as the red folders, but still take a look at those. And also Thursday, that's Thursday, Friday. We have one on Friday, so we have one on Friday as well. So we have Tuesday and Friday for red folders. So by the end of this week, let me jump into momentum real quick. So as I'm looking at momentum. Momentum right now for futures is negative 2.9 or negative 0.29, excuse me. So we'll look at that. So let me jump into the market and show you guys what I'm looking for this week. I've been kind of looking and watching some levels. I'm going to start with YM futures, and I'm going to start on the monthly chart. And the reason why I want to start on the monthly chart, I want to show you guys some key levels I'm looking at and where the market is right now. Currently, the market has actually came down so far last week and break the June's low. So I'll talk about it in a second. So this, take a look at this green line. This green line that I drew right here is a line that was initially a swing high line from back in, this was COVID level. So back in January 2020, this was a nice resistant area. So this was a swing high line. You notice that this is when kind of COVID started around this area. This is the YM. So price went up and rejected and dropped from there. And we went all the way down. We tried to come back up here in September 2020, same year as COVID. And you can see that price was rejected from it. So price came up and price was pushed back down. So this green line was acting as strong resistance. And as you can see now in November, price closed above it. So it no longer was acting as resistance. It started acting as support now. So as price came down the next December, January, February, the next 3 months, it's been actually acting as support. So this area for me on YM is going to be interesting. I'm going to show you this same area on all the other indices. So feel free to draw this area. So mostly right now, the market is reapproaching or going back to when COVID started. If you guys could take a look at your chart. As we can see, the market went up. This line area is going to be a resistant area. I'm going to draw that later on. So now we're back to this green line. So I'm looking to see, is this green line going to act as support now? Remember, it was initially resistant. It got broken through. So price closed above it and it started acting as support. So now we're back to that level. I'm looking to see is price going to continue to act as support. So this green line is important to me. Also, that's the first reason. Also, you see this pink line right here? This is my 50 EMA. Price also is somehow rejecting from my 50 EMA. Take a look at it right there. You can see the 50 EMA right at where price closed at last week, or where price is currently trading. So that's important as well for me. So that's on YM. On ES, I have the same line. So you guys can mark that line on whatever ticker you're looking at, whether it's your indices, whether it's Apple, whether it's Google. Go to the monthly chart and find that that level, particularly either where COVID happened or maybe a few months after COVID. That was a swing high line where price was trading above your 50 EMA line, and then go from there. So now price is approaching this level. So for me, I'm waiting to see a breakout either to the bottom side or to see if this level is going to hold and push price back up and form a new high to come up here. And then we're going to have a market correction to go into higher highs and higher lows. So that's what I'm looking at for that level. So that was ES. It's the same thing for NASDAQ as well. NASDAQ didn't quite reach the COVID level. This is the COVID level for NASDAQ, but you can see right now, and this is NASDAQ futures, it's testing the level right before COVID, right above COVID. So we'll see how that works. And finally, Russell also is testing this COVID level. You can see initially it was resistant, came up here. It closed above it, but again, it was a fake out. It closed above it and came right back down. So this was a resistant line. It came back here a few months later, about a year later. So, yep. 6 months later, it came back up here, resisted again, and came back down, and then finally broke through in November 2020. So now, because we closed above, I'm going to see if it's going to act as support. As you can see on the Russell Future, so far, price has closed below it. So may potentially be, support have been broken. But again, this also could be a fake out. You can see just like you saw it here where price closed above, but then turned right back around. So I'm watching to see if the price is going to shoot a bit further or it's going to turn back around and go back up. So that's YM. I'm going to take a look at the VIX real quick, and I'm going to dive into our market and show you guys what candlestick pattern I'm looking at. Where am I looking? What areas I'm looking for if the market end up being bullish? What areas am I watching if the market end up being bearish? All right, so you got to be able to identify both your positions. So on the VIX, I told you guys last week sometime, if you can look at this, let me erase these two lines so you guys can see my two trend lines. So these two trend lines right here, which are green, let me erase this one as well. Initially, I told you guys that I was looking for the VIX to form a bull flag. You can see it. I have a strong rally up, and I have some consolidation to the left forming my channel, which is my flag. And from there, we had a breakout to the upside. So my bull flag was completed on the VIX. As you can see right now, the VIX is still, it passed through this daily, which is a supply zone, or the weekly supply zone. Now it's coming to the top of the triple zone. Up here at the top, we have a daily, weekly, and a monthly zone in this area. So far, the VIX came up and it tested the daily zone. All right, this is a supply zone. It tested the daily supply zone so far, and it's kind of trying to push down. So I'm curious now to see if the VIX will consolidate between these two areas. So this is about the 32.69 area on the high side. And on the low side, I'm looking at the 31.16. So I'm curious to see if the VIX may consolidate between this area because the market had such a big sell-off last week. With that being said, let me jump back down to the futures. I'm going to show you guys what I'm looking at on the daily. So here are my scenarios for futures, or just the market in general. Looking to see whether we're going to be bullish or bearish. Again, we don't know right now. You may see a bit of a consolidation today. You may. I don't know yet, but we'll see. I'm going to look at momentum, and I will let you guys know. But from what I saw last week, looking at the daily right now, futures and how it's trading right now, this green line is somewhat acting as support. As you can see it right now, let me make it a little bit bigger. Price is still, yes, price came down below that green line I showed you on the monthly, but it's acting, price is actually pushing back above it. So there's some buyers in this area still willing to push price higher. So my goal now is to see how does this candle close today. So will I close as a hammer, which would be a nice bullish reversal pattern that's forming a triple zone, a monthly, weekly, and a daily zone here to the upside? Or will I close, if I go down to the 4 hour, I'm seeing a bit of a bullish move on the, a bearish move on the 4 hour. Take a look at this 4 hour candle right here. This is and it's formed at the bottom. So it's an inverse hammer or inverted hammer. This is actually, because this is formed in this area, which is my triple zone area, my triple demand zone, this can potentially be a bullish reversal pattern. However, here's a caveat to it. Because this green line that was essentially support, when I showed you guys on the monthly chart, this green line was acting as support. Now price closed below that green line on the 4 hour. And then this, if I'm looking at it from that area, then this will be somewhat of a hangman, I will call it. That's formed right here, right now. Or yeah, it's just a shooting star, I would say. So I'm looking for this one right now. So this candlestick pattern aligning with this green line could potentially be a bearish pattern. But when you're looking at it from the bullish side, this candlestick forming right here in this triple demand zone is a bullish pattern. So right now I'm looking to see who's going to come out, whether I'm going to have the bears that come out. Right now it looks like YM is trying to retest this pin. So retested 50%, which it did. So if it's able to retest and push back down, then this pin and this green line will be my bearish signal. However, if the bulls are able to keep price up, then this pin will be serving as a bullish signal. So again, trying to see what will happen as I move forward. I'm going to show you a bit of a candlestick pattern as well, and I'm going to move forward. So let me go to ES real quick and show you the same thing that I'm looking at for ES. So on the daily, let me go. I like to start with the daily. And for me, before I take any trade, I like to have my zones lined up or my time frame. Right now, the weekly is red. the daily is red, the 4 hours green. So I'm having conflicting time frame when it comes to my zone. Again, a part of my trading strategy, I only take trade when all my time frames are aligning, starting with the weekly. So my weekly has to be the same color. So since my weekly is red, I need my day to be red. I need my 4 hour to be red. And I also need my 1 hour to be red. Right now, I have 3 out of the 4 that's red. So for me right now, because my 4 hour is green and the other 3 is red, when I take a trade, I will not take a trade. I need everything to align as a part of my confluence. So with that, let me look at it real quick. So on the ES, same thing for ES. We're in that triple zone right now. ES has not reached its green line that I'm waiting on right now. So we still have some time for ES to get down to that green line. Let me go down to the monthly so you can see what it looked like. Right now, I'm showing some strong buying power, some buying pressure. Price was able to come all the way down here to the bottom of this triple zone, and then buyers are now pushing price up. So buyers are trying to step in right now to push price higher. We have literally 1 more week before this monthly candle closes, and it also will have an idea of what this weekly candle would look like. So I need you guys to pay attention to this weekly candle on ES and also on YM, because right now, if this candle on the weekly side end up being a hammer, whether it's a red or a green hammer, I don't care what it is, where you're going to have a close but a long wick to the bottom side, that means buyers are now in the market. And the reason why I'm saying it, because it's going to be a hammer formed inside of a triple demand zone. So there's demand in this area. So definitely watch this week to see how this week candle closes. I'm also looking at, let me see on here, and I'm going to show you some other tickers. So that's going to be why I'm going to look for the daily as well to see how the daily forms. So whether or not today's going to be a consolidating day, I will let you guys know that in the chat. Be sure to follow that in the chat based on momentum. But as of now, I'm seeing that ES is trying to somehow consolidate so far since it opened up, because we're showing some resistance from this white line, which is a weekly line, and we're finding support in that triple area right here. So I'm curious, again, momentum is going to play a part. But also I'm seeing on the volume, I'm seeing some increase in volume when price was going down. So this is telling me, remember, volume precede price. So this is telling me that I may see some push up. And again, it may not be long. And the reason why I say it may not be long, I have these 2 down trend lines that should be acting as resistance right now. And if you can see it right now on ES, this red line right here, price is somewhat rejected. It went up and then price came back below. That long wick shows you its rejection. Now I have this next 4 hour candle trying to test this trend line. So whether or not this 4 hour candle closes above will be important to me. So once it closes above and then start acting as support, then you may see price push up. But if this trend line holds where price cannot close above this red line and keep pushing it down, you're going to see a wick to the top. Then you may see either price consolidate for the day, because we have strong support at the top, but we also have, we had strong resistance at the top, but we also have strong support at the bottom. So that's going to be ES. I believe NASDAQ has, I think I do that levels too. So NASDAQ has his green line I'm waiting on. It's not quite where the COVID level is. COVID level for NASDAQ is down here. So I'm looking to see, I marked it up here, but I'm looking to see in the event that NASDAQ passed this line here, my next level is going to be down here along with the 72 EMA line. And finally, Russell, if you trade anything in the Russell also broke below that support that I'm looking for. But again, because we still have 5 days, with today being day 5, we still have 5 days in the month left. You can still see some push back up. So buyers may come in. You may see price come all the way down, but buyers can potentially push this back up and close above this line by the time the month is over. So this week is going to be important for the market. I already showed you guys VIX. So I'm looking for VIX to actually, let me go to the day. I'm looking for the VIX to see where VIX is going to be right now. So as you can see right now, the VIX did test, as I mentioned, up in this supply zone, the triple zone. It tested the data and it's trying to drop back down. But you may see some support or some channeling between this blue line and this white line. I'll continue to watch the VIX as you trade today. It's trying to form somewhat of a double top, but I look at tweezer top. I'll see how that works. DJI, Dow. This is my favorite. I use Dow for momentum. And the same thing I told you guys, Dow also has reached its level, as you can see right now. And Dow is important. I'm going to show you something on Dow while I look at Dow right now. So Dow is the market that I use for when I'm looking at momentum and gauge to see what momentum is doing, whether we're going to consolidate, whether we're up or down. I use a DJI Dow. So with Dow now, Dow on the monthly, last week. It didn't close below it. It came right to that line. And this line is that COVID line. So initially it was acting as resistant, price pushed down. So it came up here November 2019. Then January 2019, that month, it came up, it resisted. February 2020 came up, it rejected, and then price dropped since then. It's tried to come back up here back in August 2020, end of the year. Same thing. Price kept pushing. It did not break that line until about a year later. About a year later, it closes above it. So now this line became support. So on Dow is back to my COVID level. So on your chart, wherever you're charting, go to the monthly chart and then find that level that COVID is, or where your ticker currently is, and draw a horizontal line in that area. That will be a key level of support. And also same thing for the Dow. It is at that green line of support in addition to my 50 EMA. If for some reason Dow decide to break through this line, we do have some potential movement for the downside to still go. Let me erase this. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. This area right here on the Dow, I'm watching it. And the reason why I'm watching this area, there's a turquoise line here, a green, an orange, and a white. All four of these are demand zone, and these are triple demand zone. Let me go down to the daily and show you what I'm talking about. If I go down to this is a daily demand zone. Price came there on Friday, tested it, and left. So this daily demand zone is fairly strong. If price come back down, I'm looking to see how far price is going to come back down. This green line is going to be the start of a gap, a buyer's gap. This orange line is also it's actually a 4-hour demand zone. And finally, this white line is the weekly gap. So with that being said, price does have the potential to break through this line and come all the way down here. And this is the Dow at about the 28,427, call it 28. So price has the potential to come down that low and then bounce back to the top. So I'm looking to see how Dow reacts with that. Right now, on the 4 hours, you can look at the Dow. The Dow did form somewhat of a pin. So again, I can buy, the sellers are still going to be able to push price down, and they still have room to push price down. So here's what I want to show you though. This area for me is important, and I'm going to show you exactly why and why I said it was important. So as I look at the Dow, this area I told you guys about, this was my swing high line. It's important. I'm looking for it. I'm looking at it to see how price reacts as it returns to it. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a box of it as an area of interest for this area. And the reason is because, again, this was initially a resistant line of swing high that was broken. So for me, a part of my trading strategy is whenever I have an initial swing high, what does that mean? Here's a high. And again, I'm going to use my 50 EMA, which is this pink line. Whenever I have a high above that pink line, here's my high. And then I have a higher high form up here, where there's another higher high. Then this previous high becomes a zone of interest for me to go long. On the converse side, it's just if I had a low and a lower low, then I was short. But let's look on this side. So I have a high here that's above my 50 EMA, this pink line. A high is formed, and then price rejected from it, came down and broke through that high. So now it came up here and formed a higher high. So now this previous high becomes an interest for me to take potential long positions. So this is an area of interest for me that I'm looking at for the Dow to see if price is going to break. Bounce from here. So you may potentially see price come all the way down in this area, this gray area here, pick up the rest of these buyers here or whomever that's here, and then you may see a bounce to the upside. So again, as I look at the market overall, we may say, yes, we are in a downtrend currently, but again, if I'm looking at the market overall, we're kind of still uptrending. We're up, down, pull back, we're going up. Now I feel like this might be a pullback because why? We can eventually say we came down here. We can eventually come down here and bounce back up and correct itself. And now the market will now be in the regular uptrending. So we're going to go up, form a high, come down, maybe form a lower low. Then this one, a lower high. So it's going to be a low here. I'm going to have a low here that's higher than this low. So I'm going to form a lower high, and then price may potentially come up and form a higher high. So for me right now, the market is in an important area, whether we're going to see a breakout to the upside or will we see a breakout to the downside. So take a look at that and keep an eye on this line. Again, for you guys, draw this COVID level line on your chart and take a look at it. Let me go down to SPY real quick and see if I can. Actually, let me look at SPX, and I'm going to look at SPY, and then we're going to see what's going to happen with that. I did the same thing for XPX. This COVID level So XPX has not reached, matter of fact, XPX COVID level is down here, which is at about 33.95 area. It hasn't reached it. There's a level right above that I'm looking for. So that so right now price is somewhat approaching that line, and I like this line or area because again my 50 EMA is also right here. So in addition to this green line and this 50 EMA, along with this triple zone right here that we're sitting at, I'm looking to see how much support we can find in this area. How much the other buyers are going to be able to come out? Am I going to be able to see a bounce to the upside, or will I be able to see our sellers going to be strong enough to push price down? So that's what I'm looking for on SPX. In addition to that, I'm also looking for candlestick patterns on the daily and on the 4 hour. So on the 4 hour, initially I thought this was going to be a pin, but it wasn't really a pin. There's some wicks to the bottom side, but I'm curious to see what today's candle is going to be, or some type of pin for this week. But every confluence, this green line for me is what I'm looking for to see if we're going bullish or bearish. Let's look at SPY. Same thing for SPY. If you do trade SPY, I think I do have the green line for SPY at about this area here. So let me make this a little bit bigger. So here's SPY. The green line that I have that I'm waiting on for SPY is about 358.75. So call it about 359 area. So I'm looking to see how price is going to react. And that's also where I have my 50 EMA crossing up that line as well. So this may act as support because I have my 50 EMA along with this green supported initial support line now. And then at the same time, I do have a triple zone for SPY as well. Well, a quadruple zone, excuse me. SPY has a quadruple zone. We have a 4 hour. We have, and it's a demand zone. We have a 4 hour demand zone on SPY. We have a daily demand zone. We have a weekly and a monthly. So this is a 4 hour zone. In addition to, again, this green line right below, which is maybe ultimate support. In addition to my 50 EMA from the monthly. And also I'm going to be looking to see now what candlestick pattern is SPY going to form right here. Right now you can see SPY did form a pin on the 4 hour on a Friday. So I like this nice bullish pin. So I'm looking to see now a retracement for that pin to see how much price could retrace. Let me see. SPY may have already done its retracement, which it did. So price SPY already retraced 50%. So I'm looking to see, are we going to continue upward? Because this candle now definitely came down to SPY and retraced it 50%. We're in pre-market right now, looking to see if this candle is going to be able to come up as we retrace. And then finally, let me go into, I want you guys to take a look at the inverse real quick. I also look at the inverse ETFs. So on the inverse ETF, let me start with SDOW. And for those of you who may not know how to, and let me turn my EMAs off real quick. For those of you who may not know how to go long, or how to short or how to play the bearish market, the inverse ETFs are going to be important for you. So here's my inverse ETF. This is SDOW, which is the inverse of the Dow. I'm looking at SDOW right now. And again, the same place what I use the inverse to do is I use the inverse to find support and resistance for the entire market. So if I'm looking at Dow to find support, I'm looking at the SDOW, the inverse, to find resistance. So right now we're in an area where we may find resistance on the SDOW. It's sitting in a triple zone right now. We have a monthly, a weekly, and a daily. So it went up into the monthly. It's been driving into the monthly. It broke this weekly. It's in the second weekly right now. So now price went up. There was a gap here. It closed the gap and started, and it rejected from this blue line, which is my daily. So I'm looking now to see if the Dow is going to be able to come in, but there's also a gap below it. So you may see, again, like I said, you may, depending on momentum, I'm curious to see if we're going to see some consolidation today based on how price open up, because we do have a little bit of, we have support at the bottom and we have resistance at the top. So looking to see how SDOW reacts will allow me to see where what Dow is going to do. I'm going to go down to SDS, which is going to be S&P. SDS, you can use SDS or SH. I'm going to show you both of them. The same thing for SDS. XDS actually Friday went up and it actually closed this gap and returned. So I can delete this right now because this is gone. It closed the gap. It's also in the triple zone, monthly, weekly, and it didn't get up to the daily. So I am curious to see now. SDS may potentially push up a little bit higher and come here and test this zone. So you may see our market initially go down based on how SDS is traveling. I'm looking at SQQQ, which is the inverse of QQQ, which is the NASDAQ ETF. Same thing, QQQ, SQQ haven't even gotten into this monthly yet, so it's rejecting from the weekly. So I'm looking now to see if price is going to be able to jump this gun, break through, and go up to the top. So we do have a bit of a support and resistance in the market and key levels to look at. So it's important for you guys to make sure you're just not looking at just one thing, you're looking at major. And I want you guys also, one thing that's important for me is Apple. Apple right now is one of those market tickers, or, you know, Apple actually let me go down to Apple real quick. It holds weight in the market. Everything right now is falling. So we're going to be dependent on Big Apple right now to see if Apple could actually hold its weight and then maybe lead us back out of this downward momentum. So let me go ahead and plot that zone on Apple I can look at. I'm not looking at this. This one already crossed. So let me probably mark this zone right here. So this is going to be the level I'm looking at for Apple, which is 145.09. That zone somewhat was acting as, I may even come down even further. I'm going to come down to, I'm going to draw two of them on Apple. All right, so first one I'm looking for is 145.09, and that was the January 2021 level. And I don't even know what COVID level is for Apple. So Apple's COVID level is all the way down here. So we're not even nowhere close to that. So we could even see potentially price falling even further down here. So Apple is going to be a key catalyst to see where the market is going. But I'm still watching these two zones right now, potentially not this one. Let me watch. I'm going to watch this one right now. Price already closed below it, but came back up. So this was initially a fake out. So I'm looking for Apple 138.79 area, call it 139 area. I'm looking to see how Apple is going to, if this zone is going to be able to hold up. Price already closed below it. So potentially you can see price even push further down. So right now we're still trying to try down. So this level is important for me for Apple to see what's going on. And I believe on the Dow, I think it was, I'm looking to see if we're going to see a head and shoulder pattern or if I'm going to see a reversal. So let me show you what that looked like. So what will I be doing? I'll be probably waiting more than likely because we're just in an area where we're uncertain. We can see a breakout to either side. So on here, I'm looking to see if I'm going to have a head and shoulder pattern form. All right, here I'm going to show you on the Dow. I want to see if we're going to have either a head and shoulder. That's why I said this area is important. So a head and shoulder pattern, which is going to be a bearish pattern for me, a bearish head and shoulder pattern, not a bullish. So this potentially could be my left shoulder here, this level here. And then my head is going to be up here. So now I'm looking to see if my right shoulder could form here. And this is going to be a nice area for the right shoulder. The reason why I say that, let me go ahead and draw this if I can find my drawing tool. The reason why I said this can potentially be a nice area is because I have these rejection or these resistant line that is sitting right here. Here's my drawing tool. I don't have it. All right, so I'm looking to see if Apple is going to be able to, this is Dow, sorry, Dow is going to be able to come up and form a shoulder here. So if price is able to trot up, let me use this arrow. If for some reason price is able to come up, and let's say this line here act as resistance because it's a downtrend line, and let me draw a line here, my shoulder is here, around this area. If this line is able to come up even here to the trend line or up here and then form a right shoulder, but come up, let's say, even if it passed through this trend line and bust through it, and let's say come up here to this line, but also is able to maybe turn, I'm looking to see if price is going to turn around and come back down here. So that will be my shoulder. So I'm going to have my left shoulder, my head, and then my right shoulder. If price is able to come back down and break, and then my neckline will be this green line I told you guys about. So I'm looking to see how price acts as that, but also price could potentially come up here, show some resistance a little bit. You may see a little bit of pullback, somewhat forming a shoulder. But if this green line that I'm talking about, if this green line holds as support, you can potentially also see my head and shoulder pattern fails, and you may see price actually come up and turn up and bust through to the top side. So that's what I'm looking for on Dow, again, just to see what we're going to be looking at. Let me jump into the chat real quick. If you haven't already done so, where do we think price is going to open today? Jump in the chat and make sure you drop that inside the Telegram chat. We have about 2 more minutes before the market is open. Let me do some analysis and let you guys see or think where do I see price open up? Let me go to SPY, SPY. All right, so currently we're going to be looking for price to gap down to open. Not very much. Let me see how many standard deviation we may be dropping. At about roughly about above the negative 0.25 standard deviation. So that's not a big drop. Whenever price don't drop more than one standard deviation, I would say, okay, we don't have enough downward momentum right now because price is only going down a small bit. So about negative 0.25 standard deviation. So you may potentially be able to see either price could potentially consolidate, which is after a gap down, you may see price turn around and go back and close the gap. To the upside, you may see price range between 0.25 and negative 0.25. And let me give you the values for those. I think I already dropped all the values in the chat, but for SPY, actually, let me jump down to the 15 minutes because the market is going to open. But the negative 0.25 standard D for SPY is going to be 366. So price is going to open above that around 366, 50-ish area. I'm going to see price open or probably below that. But let's look at that. And then the 0.25 standard deviation is 370. So now let's look and see how price open up in the market in the next 1 minute before I jump off. And then again, we're just going to take a look at momentum. Make sure you guys monitor momentum to see what momentum is doing, whether or not we're going to consolidate or not. And I will be dropping that information in the chat based on what I'm seeing from my standard deviation value. All right, let me jump down to the 15 real quick. And let me go down to SPX. Because SPX also will be gapping down. All right, so the market is open now. Let's take a look at it. All right, let's take a look at it. So here's SPX. I told you guys the market's going to gap down. So we can see right now, here's where price closed on Friday. Here's where price opened today. So we gapped down to open. Same thing for SPY. Let me show you how price gapped down to open. We opened at 366.19. Ish, somewhere around there. So here's SPY as well. So price gap down. So now I'm looking to see how price going to react. Right now, the negative 0.25 line is acting as support, and price is actually trying to turn around to fill the gap down that it did this morning. So I'm going to log off and allow you guys to go ahead and trade. Again, trade wisely,